Hi, guys, and welcome to Mom Coach Wife. My name is Alina Michelle, and this is Mompreneur Mondays. Every single week, I showcase some amazing moms who are doing amazing things with their businesses while raising families or having already raised families, such as Pippa, who we are meeting this week. Pippa is a mom of five, wife to a farmer, and she has always worked while raising her children, and now she is running her own skincare business. So let's get into it. Let's meet Pippa. And if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so that you get to see all of the moms that are coming through. Give this video a thumbs up and hit that bell for notifications. Again, let's meet Pippa. Hi, Pippa.
Hey, how are you, Elena?
Good. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good. Really good,
Good.
thank you.
So before we jump into talking about your business, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us something that makes you more than just a mom.
Hi everyone. My name's Philippa and I live on a farm in Western Australia, about 2.5 hours southeast of Perth. We call that area the wheat belt because we grow grain and we have a large sheep farm as well. Um, I have a large family, 5 children, and when they all grew up and left home, I thought, right, I'm going to start something for myself, and didn't know what to do, but this opportunity came along for me to have my own skincare business. So I have been doing that for 2.5 years, and it's totally changed my direction of my life and career. I've worked in as a emergency department. I think over in the US that you call ER, is that right?
Yes.
An ER nurse and a midwife. I've been surrounded by mothers and babies, including my own, for 35 years. So now I love helping other women with their skincare, but also help them creating their own business as well, something for themselves.
Awesome, Pippa.
Yeah.
Been doing a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Nursing,
Yes.
farming, skincare.
Yes. I know.
Such a lot that you have accomplished and that you are doing right now. So you
Yeah.
said that your children have grown up and they've left home now. What are some things that now that they're out of the house that you guys enjoy doing as a family?
Well, Western Australia is such a big place, and they're all scattered around the state. So we only get together as a family maybe once or twice a year. But we love going on. We still go on holidays together. We're heading off next week. My youngest girls, I've got twin girls, and they're 23, and so we're heading off for a week to the coast. So we really enjoy still being together as a family, even though they've grown up. And I've got two gorgeous little grandchildren as well. So yeah, it's lovely. All that hard work was worth it in the end.
So what was your favorite stage, being that you have adult children, what was your favorite stage in ages? Like right now, my only experience is like newborn and toddler, and I can tell you toddler is not my favorite.
No, I would say that maybe is my least favourite. Of course, newborns are always so lovely because you're getting to know your baby, and um, I don't think I had particularly good babies, so that's kind of, you're tired. I do like the primary school years. I think that's really good. You still have that kind of total control over your child. They become more independent. Watching them learn and taking them to their sport or dance classes. I love that. But I also love the teenage years because, you really step into that role as a mentor. And I believe that those teenage years are so pivotal. They really set up the foundation of your relationship as in your adult life with those children as teenagers. I'm also a parenting educator as well. So luckily, I had all the tricks up my sleeve to know what to do. And it's really hard with for the mums out there with teenagers. It's really hard. They get so independent and want to do their own thing.
Yeah.
But you still got to keep them on that reasonably tight rein, just like a toddler.
Yeah, I can't even imagine my daughter as a teenager. Scary.
Oh no, you can't at the time. But I also the first 3 years are pivotal in a child's development as well. So all the things that you do in those first 3 years, establishing that relationship, all the reading and time you're spending with your child is building that relationship of trust, which is very important for the teenage years as well.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I just hope that when she does become a teenager, that she still wants to talk to me about everything like she does now. But it's just so interesting to hear from someone who has raised their children at this point into adults, and functioning adults, has grandchildren, as to what those stages were like for you. Because again, I personally have only been through 2 stages, and so far newborn is winning as a favorite because
but some people have really unsettled babies and they don't like that stage at all. So it's hard. I think I've got a mixture. I've got 3 girls and 2 boys, so they are all different. And even my youngest, that are twin girls, you couldn't get more opposite looking children. Well, they do look a little bit alike, but their personalities are extremely different. And I strongly encourage all mothers and fathers to read the 5 love languages. Have you heard of that?
Yes, I've heard of it, but I haven't read it yet. I've kind of like skimmed what the love languages are. And I think that my daughter's is physical touch, because anytime she like cries or like if feelings are hurt, she has to have a hug and a kiss. She's super cuddly. So I think that hers is physical touch, but I do need to read that book. It's actually on my list of books to read because I've heard how like impactful it is.
Because if you, I found that really helpful because it's with all the kids, they're different. And if I deliver the same, even with the twin girls, one likes being hugged and touched, the other one doesn't really. She prefers other ways. So, if I was always wanting to hug her and congratulate her, and she's like, those people, those
don't touch me.
They just like they hug you, but they're like, oh, So it's about respect and getting to know your child. So I think that's a good recommendation.
For sure. And I'll find one and link it in the description below for anyone who's interested in picking that book up. Again, I haven't read it yet, but I have also heard really good things about it. So I would say take Pippa's recommendation and check that out, because every kid is different, and it's crazy. Like you had twins and they were completely different. And we all think like they're twins, they're going to be identical, even if they're not, they don't look the same. But yeah, everyone has a different personality.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Pippa, tell us a little bit about your skincare business. What made you go into skincare first and foremost? And also tell us what the name of your business is.
Okay, so it is a US-based company, very popular, Rodan and Fields, named after the 2 dermatologists, Katie Rodan and Kathy Fields, and they were the brains behind Proactive. They're the 2 doctors that developed that brand, and they are based in LA. So they are the #1 premium skincare brand in the US and Canada. they came to Australia 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago,
Wow.
and my sister lives in Sydney, and she met someone who was talking about it. I, at that point, was 50 something, 3 or 2 or whatever, and my skin was growing up in Australia. You get so much sun damage and pigmentation. Everybody ages very quickly here, and we only need to go to the US and Europe and see women of our age, and we go, oh wow, you know, we're way more lined and age spots because of the Australian climate. So I also was looking for something to use on my skin, but where do you start? You know, you go into shops and there's just, you don't know where to start because everybody says their products are good. But this company is the only one that I know that has the 60-day money-back guarantee. And nurses by nature are very skeptical, and that's how we're trained. We're always to look and weigh, you know, judgments, and is this person telling us the truth, or
Right.
you know, we're very analytical, and that's how we have to be. So I thought, right, well, I've got nothing to lose, so I'm going to use this stuff. If it's got to #1 in the US and Canada, it must be good, because you can't get to #1 without being good in anything in life. So I started it. Didn't tell anybody because, you know, as I said, skeptical nurses, and waited for my children. I thought my daughters will probably notice first, which they did, and then my work colleagues started noticing, and then I thought, well, maybe I should share it. And people were asking about it, and I thought, well, I may as well just start, you know, selling it through my own name, and thinking that, oh, I'll just have a few customers and that would be it. But oh no, it went bigger and bigger. And then my daughter, the one with the 2 grandchildren, Jessica, she joined me as well, and it's just, now I've got a team of, I don't know, 20 mums. They're all mothers. It's just, I have only 1 or 2 ladies of my age. The rest of the girls are mums because they can do it from home, do it from their phone. We have warehouses here now, and it all gets shipped from Sydney or Perth, depending which side of Australia you're on. And it's just, it just fits in with my life. I now only work 2 to 3 days a week in my profession, and the rest of the time I'm home supporting my team and helping my customers. So it's just another way of, I've always helped people, whether I'm looking after them in a bed or delivering their babies or whatever. I've always looked after people. So for me, it's just a natural extension of that. And I was really sad because I was meant to come to the San Francisco head office this year and taken out to the Napa Valley and spoilt rotten by the company, who are so amazing. I think it's because it's run by women mainly. Oh, there's definitely men in there, but they're very caring, family orientated. Just about everyone in that company's got children. They understand how, as mums, we have to juggle so much.
I think that last part is really amazing, that you're working with people who actually, they are moms themselves, so they understand, and like active moms, you know, it's so good to work with people who understand what it is to be a parent and running a business at the same time.
And that's my role, not only to help people with their, getting them on the skincare and organising things like that, but also to show mums how you can fit this in with your daily life, you know, just in the small pockets of time, just to create, you know. And not all the girls on my team want to, you know, they've just got in their mind, I just like an extra, $300 a month to pay for whatever. Or my daughter started because she had 2 children under 2, and she wanted a cleaner. And I said, well, that's fantastic, because if you can have someone just to help clean your house, it makes you feel so much better.
Yeah, that's like definitely least favorite chore over here.
And it took me to have the 5 children. I didn't plan to have such a big family. I had 3 children, and I thought that was it. And then I had a surprise. And the surprise was 2 more, which at the time, I just ended myself at the time. It meant we had to get a bigger car. My husband works a lot on the farm. But for the first time in my life, I thought, I actually said, I'm going to need help. And that was really hard for me. I'm very independent. And I just thought, I just can't possibly do this by myself. And it felt really, really uncomfortable to ask for help. And I think that's another thing mums really struggle with.
Yeah, it is hard to ask for help. To this day, and my husband's just as bad at asking for help, so I'm like really screwed on that. To this day, I think only her grandparents have ever watched her.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm just like, oh, she'll be fine. She's like always with us, and I'm like super, super protective. And even I know we talked earlier before we actually got into today's interview about even my business. Like I pretty much do everything on my own. Every once in a while, my husband might help out here or there. Like he came and checked my little setup for recording, was like, okay, yeah, it's good, and made sure my angles were right and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it's like one-woman show, and I know I'm gonna get to that place, like I'm getting close to it, where it's like I'm gonna have to ask for help, but it's like I get knots in my stomach even thinking about like someone else incoming and touching what essentially is another one of my babies. So yeah.
And it is hard especially for you people in the US because of COVID. I mean, we are so lucky. I have friends in other countries, and we Skype, and we don't wear masks when we go outside. Nothing has changed for us. We did have a bit of lockdown 10 months ago, but even the fact of someone coming into your house to clean it, I'm saying, oh yeah, get a cleaner, but I realize now in the US it's not like that, and not just the US, many countries, but it's trying to find ways of helping, and knowing that it's okay to ask for help. It's absolutely fine, and realizing too that people want to help. So, once I said it's about surrendering, that it's actually when you realize you can surrender and say, yeah, I need help. And it was amazing. I had people bringing over lasagnas and curries. I didn't cook for the first month of when I had the twins.
And awesome.
Yeah, it was, but it was also, it made me connect with people as well. So there's actually really good gems when you do surrender and let people help you.
Yeah. I can only imagine that there was a huge weight lifted, because although I'm like really hesitant, there's also that voice in the back of my head that's like, it's really going to be helpful to just let someone help you.
But it's also really good for like for Brooklyn to see that, because what we do with our children, and this is what I see with teenage children, is that they kind of set you up as you're just mum. You kind of lose your identity, and when they're teenagers, they don't see you as a person so much. You're just mum, and mum who knows and can do everything, and that whole, it's really good for the children to see that we all need help. And even mum asks for help. So if they need help one day, they're going to feel safe to ask for it. So it's all it's win-win all round, really.
Yeah.
That you're teaching your children those skills as well.
Yeah.
So
And
even as
also one of
adults,
the things you just kind of like hit on is that it teaches them not to take mom for granted, when
absolutely,
when
because
they
that's a
realize
big
like
problem.
human.
Yeah, and you see that with teenagers, the way they treat their parents, the lack of respect. I'm sure it's the same everywhere around the
Mhm.
world,
Oh yeah.
because the parent has let the child at some point become in charge of the family
Mhm.
instead
Yeah.
of the parent being the boss. At some point, the child has assumed that position,
Hmm.
and calling the shots and saying, well, I'm going out, or this is what's happening, and no, I'm not eating that for dinner, and whatever the story is. So,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And that definitely, we see that out here all the time. It's everywhere. But
Oh,
as soon as you let that guard down and let it happen. And I mean, it can start as early as when they start
oh,
speaking. I mean, my daughter has tried it
absolutely.
several times and we've had to be like, no, we're not
Yeah,
going to
that's
do
right. And,
that. So,
and that's a normal stage of development for a child. As soon as they can learn to talk, and even before that, they've realized, even as 9, 10, 11-month-old babies, that, oh, I've got a sense of power here and a
mhm,
control. So if they throw their dummy out the cot, or I think you call it pacifier, what do you call
mhm,
it there? Like the
pacifiers.
pacifier, if I throw that, mum's going to bring it back. Oh, I've actually got
Mhm.
power, And so then it continues of, oh, I just asked for this, and then I just have to scream a bit, and then I get that biscuit. So then
Mhm.
it continues, that
Yeah.
sense of power that a child learns to manipulate their environment to get what they want. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, they can be very manipulative and very good negotiators, I am learning. Yeah, my
Oh
daughter
yeah.
is really good with, well, how about we do this?
Yeah.
She's so
That's a really good skill.
yeah,
Good skill at
she's
problem solving.
yeah, she was negotiating before she was really talking good. I tell the story all the time about her on the playground, and this little girl was on a little push, one of those little toddler like scoop cart thingies. I don't know what they're really called. So someone can correct me in the comments, or if you know Pippa. She was
Yeah.
on, this little girl was on one, and we're at the little toddler park, and my daughter walks up to her, and she was talking a little bit, but not like forming full sentences yet. She walks up to her with a different toy, and somehow they do like this little toddler babble thing, and she's negotiating with this. She's like handing her the toy, and the little girl ends up taking that toy and letting her have the other toy. It was crazy
Yeah.
to see it. I'm like, she just negotiated her way into taking over that toy.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't understand the content of the negotiation, but it was obviously a negotiation, and we're trying to tell her like, you can't just take this toy from this little girl. And yeah, she's still a
Yeah.
negotiator to this day.
I'm sure it'll hold her in good stead when she's older.
Yeah, maybe she'll be a lawyer or something. I don't know. Like, I hope she
Maybe
does
she
something good
will.
with it.
Mhm,
so
mhm. Problem solving. Yeah.
So Pippa, what is one mission that you have with being in the skincare industry, that like something that you want to see happen, or a goal that you have with your business?
Um, I think that, well, my goal is twofold. One is to help people improve their skin, for for everybody. I mean, the products are. It's not just about women and looking good. The Rodan Fields, because they're dermatologists, they've created their products are for over 6 months of age. So some of my customers are in their 80s, and some of them are two, because their sensitive skin range is good
Mhm.
for eczema and things like that, nappy, rashes and things like that. So I think that's why the company is successful. And for
Yeah.
me, if I'm going to do a business, I looked at well, who's got the biggest reach? And I suppose, you know, well, everybody has skin, so therefore everyone is a potential customer. So it naturally is a good business to have. So, you know, men, women, kids, a lot of teenagers are using the acne range. They don't have Proactive. They sold that brand. So now they have a more, you know, technology improved. So they have, I think probably my biggest joy is when teenagers with their acne and they use our spotless product and their skin improves, because we know how much self-esteem is tied in with your skin.
Oh yeah.
You know, you can kind of cover up most things, but especially your face is, you know, it's just on show the whole time. And if you feel comfortable in your skin, that goes a long way to your self-esteem. And this business, I thought I knew just about everything about people after looking after them, but I've learned so much more, because you know, people say, oh, I'm too old, you can't help me, and this kind of conversation. So, and obviously it's not about, you know, I'm not going to, you can't make me look 20 again, but if it makes me feel better because my pigmentation and my lines and open pores and things like that are better, and then yeah, great. And it's self-care is really important too. And that's another thing as a mum that goes on the back, you know, at the end of the list. So educating mums that it's okay to spend that 5 minutes in the bathroom doing something for yourself is fine. And yeah, and it's also you know, that's what I love about the business. I also love that connection with women, and half the time we're talking about skincare, and then it goes on to child questions and parenting questions, and yeah, so I'm very what's the word, my passion, I suppose, is helping mums, because I've been out on a farm. Our nearest, if I ran out of milk, I'd have to drive 60 kilometres to go and get more. So I can't just drive to the shop and get whatever I've forgotten. So it was pretty tough, let's say that. I had a twin pram and I couldn't even get it into the shop because the doors were too narrow. And so, you know, just I think obstacles, I've had to become very resilient, being out here and with the children. I mean, there's certainly benefits. I don't want it to sound like it's all doom or doom and gloom. You know, they've had a farm to run around on, and you know, I don't have to worry about cars and strangers and things like that. And I think that's helped their resilience, because we don't even have Wi-Fi in the house. So they didn't get phones and they couldn't be in their rooms. So they had to go outside and build cubbies in a tree and play, you know, play down at the creek and make boats and put their dolls in the water. So
you have to get creative.
Yeah, nature play is really, really important. Really important. I can't stress that enough. So yeah, my passion is now turning into helping people with their skin, and also anyone who's interested in just creating a bit of income, because this business is for everybody, absolutely everybody.
Yeah, we all have skin and none of us wants it to look bad. I think everyone wants their skin to look good. And yeah, I mean, I love that it reaches so many different age groups, because there's always people of different ages that have skin issues. You know, people get eczema at birth, like shortly after birth, you can show signs of eczema. So yeah, I think that it's really amazing that you're helping in that way.
And the other part of it is that I love being with such a different group of women. I've the fourth country that Rodan and Fields is in Japan. So I have a Japanese lady in Perth who is a consultant kind of in my team, and she's now signed on someone in Japan. We have a lot of many fellow sisters in the US, a very diverse company, and I love that. I love being with people with other cultures and learning about their history, and that, because not everybody joins us for money. If I'd worked full time, I could have made the same amount of money I'm working, but for me, living out here and my children all moved away, for me to Skype people in Japan and in the US, and it's great listening to other people's stories and learning about other cultures. Yeah. So for me, the community of the business was really good.
Yeah. I mean, that's got to be awesome, reaching out to so many different countries. I mean, that was honestly one of the things that I loved about being able to connect with you, was being able to speak to someone not only who now has adult children, so you've lived this mom life of kids at home and everything, and balancing teaching them and having a job and a farm and all of that. So to be able to learn from you, and then also you're in Australia, so it's an entirely different culture than here in the States. Even some of the things that you guys say, like I didn't catch exactly what it was for pacifier, is completely different than what we say, so it's,
we call it a dummy. I don't know, it's called
a dummy.
A dummy, like
a dummy.
Dummy.
Oh.
Yeah. But I've learnt words that the other girls, I remember listening to a US consultant talk about a deep discount, and I'm like, what's a deep discount? We don't say that. We just say, oh, it's a big discount. You're saying it's a deep discount. I'm going, oh, I mean, I could work out what she meant, but so that's
different terminology.
And to be honest, I don't even know. I've only just but started on Instagram probably 5 months ago. I had no idea what I was doing. I'd created a business page on Facebook. Most of my age group were Facebook, but then I realized I had to kind of start branching into other things and Instagram, and somehow you were there and I was just following. I don't even know, but I have connected with other people, and it's just really interesting journey.
That's one of the things I love about Instagram, though. Like, I've talked to so many people through that platform from like all over the world, and it's so easy to really like start that communication. And I probably have like over 30 direct messages of just getting to know different moms like all over the world. And it's so cool to be able to do that at our fingertips. I just pick up my phone and I could be talking to someone who's on the other side of the world. So it's pretty amazing to do. So I want to get into a little bit about balance slightly. I know your children are no longer home with you, so you may have to reach back to when they were home, but what were some of the things that you did to balance work life, motherhood, and being a wife, having a farm, and then like we talked about self-care? A lot of times that is last on the list. So what are some things that you did over the years to really help you take care of Pippa?
It's funny you said reach back to the years before, but my daughter has a 2-year-old, well, she's nearly 3, and a 1-year-old, and she came to visit for Christmas. So I actually had the past in the present, and so for the first time I had these 2 little kids to look after, and I thought, oh wow, I can't do my business anymore. As in, I had to wait until they were both asleep at lunchtime, to then for the first time pick up my phone. But I did learn. So yeah, certainly I've always worked, always. I would have 6 months to a year off after I'd had the babies, and then I would go back to work in some capacity, always part-time, but always had to kind of juggle that. Preparation, forward planning is the only way to kind of manage that. Doing bulk cooking, I make something for one night and I'd double it, so I knew that on a work day I didn't have to. But also probably the biggest thing, and it took me, I think, to number 3 child to really get this, but I was probably forced into it because of the busyness of when you have more children, is that don't be afraid to get your children to help you. I was doing everything for the first one and even probably the second one, but certainly and definitely by the time I had the twins, because I realized that they actually are very capable of doing things. And so Saturday mornings was job time, and just 1 hour of everybody pitching in. So, the 10-year-old was hanging out the washing, the younger ones were, what we did is we'd sit down and look at the jobs and work out, well, who can do what? And then it was a bit of a choice thing of, well, boys tend to like the machines more, so they'd want to do the vacuuming or whatever. And instead of me spending 5 hours doing the jobs, we had this little workforce, and so we put them to good use, and it was great. And yes, of course they would whinge a little bit sometimes, but it taught them so much. So I think, don't be afraid. You can get a 2-year-old, 3-year-old to sort out the washing. That was something that they did when they were 3, daddy's clothes, mummy's clothes. And, if you put baskets in their drawer, they can go and put their clothes, their underwear or whatever. Start them when they're young, because a child loves feeling helpful as well. It's very important for their self-esteem that they know they're a part of that family and that they get, rewarded for their job. So definitely doing that. I think the biggest mistake I made was not looking after myself. I'd go for months without. Luckily, I haven't. I'm just starting to get a bit grey around the temples, but I'd go for months without getting my hair cut. And yes, but scheduling's a little bit of time, but don't do it once a year. You need to have it more regularly. Small amounts regularly is more important than just one big chunk of something. So, and also to say, I've got a friend and she's so good at this. She's got 3 teenage daughters, and she just says, it's mummy's time. I'm going into my room, and the door gets shut for an hour, and don't come and get me unless you've set the house on fire. So and what's so wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that as mums, we kind of think, oh, you can't do that, but yeah, you can. You actually can, and nothing's going to change except you're going to find that, you've had half an hour and you might have painted your toenails or had a bath or just lay on your bed and read a book, but you've had an hour, a short amount of downtime. But obviously that's not till, the children get a bit older. But so going back to your question, is planning, getting the help where you need, getting the information that you need. Of if you find you can't work effectively, getting someone who knows how to work effectively, whether that's you or, someone who's, managing to juggle, well, what do they do? And finding out, I break it down to, I tell my girls, 15 minutes, in 15 minutes you can send, 5 messages, follow up with 5 customers, do a post. And when you think, okay, I can find 15 minutes. So, it's just up to find the person that can help you with that. If you don't have with Rodan and Fields, they set it up that if I bring someone into the business, and if I do that and say, well, this is an opportunity, well, not everyone is the same, of course, but I feel that I owe it to that person to make sure that they know what to do and how to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. I promise, Pippa, we are on like the same wavelength right now.
Yeah.
Everything that you were just talking about, I literally just made a video on it. When everyone sees this, it'll be like a month old, but but at this moment, I literally just published a video to my YouTube about making time for yourself and how important that is and how important self-love is.
So if I could get one message out, because I've seen some of the other ladies on your YouTube, and because of the time difference, I never get to watch it live, but I do when it comes in the email, and I always watch it. And I love the energy and the way people talk too. I love that. It just, people's personalities, and they just make me laugh. And they, if I could, having the wisdom of being almost a generation, well, probably, yes, a generation older.
Yeah.
I've seen what happens when women get to their late 40s and 50s. They get burnout, and not everyone. It depends on the circumstances of how helpful your partner is, how much support you have your children gone to stay at their grandmother's once a month just so you can get a break. But what happens is, when your children leave home, and often the thought comes to the woman, well, what do I do now? My whole life's been about being a mother and working, and I need to find myself again. And you tie that in with menopause, which is a huge upheaval of emotions and hormones anyway. And often they say that, as someone who's done mental health as well, is the most dangerous times for mental health in a woman's life is when she's had a baby, that first few weeks after she's given birth. And we all know about, postpartum depression and but also then if you get through that with and you're still sane, then it's menopause. And it's all because of those little tricky hormones. So if you haven't looked after yourself and kept that little bit of yourself from who you were before you were a mum, if you haven't continued to do a couple of things that you enjoy doing, then women get very lost and find it quite hard. They call it empty nest syndrome. Is that something that you call that in the US?
Honestly,
US,
I would probably say you're probably right. I don't know the exact syndrome. I have talked about the story that a mom that I've actually met on Facebook told me exactly what you just said about like, oh, what do I do now? Happened to her. She ended up like losing her marriage. She lost herself once her kids were gone. Like she was a complete wreck afterwards. And she didn't give it a name, but I would almost bet that it probably is empty nest syndrome, because I know we talk about like being empty nesters and things like that. So yeah, I would bet that it probably is. If there's anyone from the States that knows the name of it, they can comment and let us know.
Yeah, and it's just because your birds, your little chicks have flown, and and it comes back to just you and your partner, or sometimes it's just you. And it's a big adjustment, and so I think that education around that and starting to build up to it and being mindful of it. And okay, I need to connect with people again and find things to do and my passion.
Sure.
You ask a lot of women of that age, what's your passion? And they go, I don't know. What do you want to do? It's just they've poured into their children. And I say to mums, don't give them 100% because they're not going to give it back to you. They're not, they're going to go off and do their own thing, and you must still have that little bit of self-preservation and keep that part of yourself because you're going to need to find it again. And look, I'm still very close to my children and my grandchildren, but they're not physically here. So, therefore, you need to, just kind of keep that in mind. And when you're busy with little kids, it's hard, but just, that you can't even think of down the track when you're busy with those children.
Yeah.
But that's part of, it's part of why the skin business works well for me, because by having a product that makes you kind of talk to people, connecting with people is really important. And that's why it's been very hard during COVID, because it's really impacted on people's connection.
Yeah. And it has been such a change with connecting with people now. And it is so important to preserve yourself and know who you are. Even if you like for me, I started to lose myself the first couple of years of being a mom. I didn't really know what to do. For one, I was still pretty young, so I was still like figuring out what I wanted to do in the first place before I became a mom. And it was just really impactful that I was able to speak to someone who had wisdom like yourself on being a mom and how harmful it was to pour entirely into her child and not fulfill herself. So that was like that kick in the pants for me. And also a big reason why I even do this series, because I want mothers, even if they don't want to start a business, like you don't have to start a business. Not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, but it's just so important to be more than just a mom, to have some little piece of your world be for you, because they're not always going to be here. And I remember seeing this hand thing. I don't remember how to do it, but there's like this thing where you put your hands together, and it's actually for marriage, it's not for individuals, but it talks about like even having that bond with your spouse, because once your kids can leave, but like it's something where like your wedding finger, these two fingers like can't separate, but I don't know how to do it. But it's a really cool little study they did where like these fingers represent like your marriage and the rest of your fingers represent like your children, and all of them could like separate except for your wedding fingers. So anyway, that was like a really cool thing. Yeah, because your kids leave, and what are you left with? If you're married, you're left with you and your spouse. And if you guys didn't have like any kind of interaction before, because everything was about the kids, you're gonna be looking at each other like, who are you? I don't know, who are you?
Absolutely. And that's often a big spike in marriage separations, because finally you're facing each other again and going, oh, I don't even know you, or I don't even know if I want to be with you anymore. I only was here for the children, and all these kinds of thoughts running around. And so yes, having that little bit of time alone, but also with your partner, staying connected with your partner, it's such a challenge. That's been my biggest challenge. One, because he's physically always out working, but when you've had children all over you and at you, the last thing you sometimes want to do is have another human being wanting, wanting something, a piece of you, because you've just got nothing left to give, and you're just like, I'll see you in 20 years when I'm
when they're gone, let's talk.
I only got a minute, but
yeah. And I mean, one of the really good things about COVID, I feel like, at least in my relationship, was that we were forced to like sit in front of each other, so we were forced to spend more time together. And I know for some people that was really good, and for other people it was kind of the same thing, like, who are you? Like, oh my goodness, I didn't know who you were, because they were so busy working and whatnot. So make sure you're making time for yourself, mamas, and for your significant other as well. If you're married or dating or what have you, it is really, really important. So, Pippa, one of the things that I like to do after we talk a little bit on a serious note is ask two kind of fun questions. And the first
Oh,
one is, if you were to have a book written about your life, Pippa, what would you title it and why?
oh, wow. Um, Gee, that's hard. um, I'm thinking Gone with the Wind. I don't know why. I'm just, oh, she survived. I don't know. And it's not like it's, I don't know what I'd title it. I would just, the journey. I think I'd have to call it The Journey, because I think my biggest lesson in life is I've had to learn how to surrender and give up control, because I am a recovering control freak. Maybe I call it that. Recovering control freak. I found it really challenging when I had all the children under my control, and then they leave. And for me, we don't even have we call it a high school here. I think you call it something else when the children go off at age 12 or 13
It was high
to, what do
school.
you call it?
Yep.
High
So,
school?
yeah,
So,
so we have elementary, which I think you guys call like primary school.
yeah,
And then we have middle
yeah.
school and then high school. And then after that, it's college, or you
Cool.
guys might call it,
I,
you call it university.
yeah. So when our children get to 11 or 12, they go into the next stage. We call that high school. But many small country towns, we don't have a high school. The population isn't there to support it. So we have to send them to a boarding school, which is probably like college, where they live and they come home on holidays. So that's the first thing that was hard for me, was sending my 11, 12-year-old away to be raised by, they have these ladies, they're called house mothers, who are there. But and then when they finish school, when they're 17, if they go to college or university, yeah, they have to move, and they don't come back then, because they stay there and then they graduate and get a job. So
Right.
learning how to surrender and just crossing your fingers that you've put in enough work that they're going to make the right choices. So and yeah, just probably surviving all that, and learning how to pivot and how to cope when things in life get thrown at you out of your control. I suppose when I found out I was having twins, that was the first thing that completely freaked me out, because it was not part of my plan. And it was like, but that's not part of my plan. And up till then, most things that happened in my life, I always wanted to be a nurse since I was 4. That was my plan, and that was executed. And that, so yeah, so many lessons in life. And I've had to just surrender and say, okay, that's happened. I can't control it. I've had to learn to rewire my brain around that. So maybe I'd call my book Rewiring Your Brain or something. I don't know.
But it's all going to be
But
centered around letting go of that control.
Yep.
Yep.
So, maybe we'll just call it Recovering Control Freak and How to Rewire Your Brain. Yeah.
Like a little self-help for anyone else that's got the control freak thing going for them.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
my other fun question, this might be like from my obsession of Disney's Aladdin and the Genie. I don't know where it comes from, but I like asking this. I want you to imagine that I'm a genie and I've just granted you 3 wishes. And the only rule to these 3 wishes is that you cannot wish for more wishes. But other than that, you can wish for whatever you want.
Oh, cool. So there's 3.
Yeah, there's 3.
I would wish that my children be happy. One thing I've learned as a mum is that your own happiness is really affected by how happy your children are. And there's a saying that you're only as happy as your unhappiest child. Unfortunately, 2 of my children have got health issues. And so that has really impacted on me because, once again, it was out of my control.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't know it at the time. There was a bit of a genetic thing going on and didn't know. So I would wish that my children are happy. I wish that I also can live to an age where I can, be healthy and be happy within myself, content with my life. And my other wish, well, of course, I'd wish that COVID would go away and and everybody would be saved from this. That would be my 3rd wish. That
Bye-bye, COVID.
somehow COVID would just disappear off the face of the earth. That's
The
what
more I
I wish
ask this question, the more I want to become a genie and make some of these wishes come true, because they're either like really, really funny or they're like really impactful. And I'm like, yes, let's do that.
Yeah.
So,
I
Pippa,
just wish that everybody would just, all these countries in upheaval, and
yes.
that's just crazy. I just don't understand why it has to be like that. But anyway,
Yeah, we could just snap our fingers and change it. It would be amazing. So, Pippa, we are going to be going live March 1st at 8 p.m. So I want to go ahead and wrap this particular interview up, because everything else that I want to ask you, I will ask you live on Instagram. So just let everyone know where they can connect with your particular, I know it's a business within a business, but where they can connect with you particularly, and if they're interested in getting into the skincare business, how they can sign up and get on your team.
Yep, great. So I have a private Facebook group that is just for my business. It's called Skin Resus, just like a nurse, Skin Resus. And my name is Philippa, which is Philippa page. And I also have a public Facebook group, which is my name. And on Instagram, I am _Philippa_page. And that's it. I haven't delved into anything else.
Well, everything will slide across. Welcome. Yep. Everything's going to slide across so you guys can see exactly where you can connect with Philippa, and then it'll also be linked in the description below. For now, thank you so much, Philippa, for joining me for Mompreneur Mondays. It was great diving into why you've gotten into your skincare business and getting some wisdom from you, being that you have raised your children successfully into adults. Congratulations, Mama.
Thank you. Thank you. And if anybody wants to connect, it doesn't just have to be about skincare. Sure, if anyone, we nurses are brutally honest people as well. So if there's any questions, I'm very honest. And just because people are in the US, people can still be attached to me. I would also link them up with someone who's living close to them if they need, someone close by to give them a hand. But certainly that's the beauty of technology these days. But if anybody, wants any other information, I'm more than happy to help any mum out there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And be sure to catch us live on the 1st of March at 8 p.m. Talk to you then, Philippa.
Great. Thank you. Nice to speak with you. Bye.